So hello and welcome everyone to this BLAB today. Today we're talking about how to use your internal compass to grow your business. And it's one of my favorite topics. It really makes me feel like inspired to talk about it because I think that as business owners, we have this intuition within us. And if we could just tap into it, we would be able to grow our businesses exponentially. And not just from a money standpoint, but from an impact standpoint. We could really step into ourselves and go and do even more into the world. And that, I think, is why we're here and why we have our businesses in the first place. So we're going to talk about what your internal compass is. We're going to talk about 4 signs that you may not be hearing or listening to your internal compass. And then we're going to talk about what we can actually do to listen to your internal compass and how to practice that. Because at the end of the day, manifesting, spiritual stuff, anything from a mindset perspective, it's all a practice. And when I say a practice, it's like yoga or meditation. You do it on a regular basis. And when you fall off the horse, you just want to come back on and keep doing it. And there's no need to beat yourself up. It is a practice, which means some days you do really well and some days you won't do so well. So go ahead and allow that practice to come into your life. All right, so you might be wondering, and this is the big question, what the heck is the internal compass? Where does that term even come from? So internal compass really refers to our gut feeling, our intuition, our inner knowing. And you know what's right for you ultimately if you can hear it, if there's no noise around it. The first time I heard the term internal compass was with Wayne Dyer. I was watching the movie The Shift, and he was talking about it, and the whole scene was pretty set up, but at the particular moment in time, the mom goes to the child, okay, lunch is ready, come and eat. And the child says, I'm not hungry. And it's interesting because she was about to tell him to go and come and eat because it was time to eat. But because she's been having this discussion of internal compass, she decided to let him play and then to come when he was ready. And a few minutes later, he was coming. And I thought that was really interesting because it goes down to the core of how do we learn throughout our lifetime? How do we actually stop to feel our internal compass and do what everybody else wants? Because that's basically what it is. We've stopped listening to it. We've stopped trusting it, and we don't even hear it anymore. And it really starts in childhood. Our parents are like, you have to eat now because it's lunchtime or it's dinner time, even when you're not hungry. So, and I like the idea of food. It's a big part of my life. And how often do we eat because we feel like it'll make everyone else happy and that we should, instead of, am I actually hungry? And will this make me feel good? What is my internal compass saying about that? And food is very basic, but when it comes to your business, you have the same sort of internal compass. You know what feels good to you, but we don't always listen to it because we're trained not to. We're trained to trust everyone else before we trust ourselves. And so that is that is the problem. If you could bring yourself back into your alignment, into allowing who it is that you are and walk into your light, it really means walk into your light, which means how am I feeling? What feels really good to me? What am I inspired to do? And allowing yourself to do that regardless of what everybody else is doing or saying. And I'm not saying that's good, to ignore everybody else and to kind of not stop caring and not be considerate and nice and all of that. But it is a question of how can you be in your alignment when you're not listening to that inner compass. You can't. And you can't run your business from that place. And when it comes to business, there are so many how do I say this? There's so much white noise. There's conflicting information everywhere. If you want to know how to grow, Heather's saying yes, absolutely. If you want to know how to grow your business, one person will tell you to start getting visible on Facebook, and another will tell you to grow your email list. And the big thing lately is funnels. And as soon as you start to bring your attention to that, you're going to find 20 different people who are telling you different things. So what do? You follow your internal compass. But for that, you need to know how to check in with it and to know what feels right to you. Now, it's it's easy to get brainwashed on Facebook, Debbie says. Absolutely. It's easy to forget ourselves and to know what's right. And it's not saying that the information you're getting is wrong. It's that we're forgetting to integrate ourselves in the process. We're putting what feels really right to us aside and we're saying, go to it. And that is the issue. I have done it time and time again. And I've done it with Facebook posts last year. I was told you have to post 5 times a day in 3 different groups or else you're not going to get any clients, which, you know what, that is a tactical strategy and it works for some people. The problem was that I got really tired. I got exhausted and then I couldn't give anymore. I burned out. So at some point in time, I had to say, hey, wait a minute, what is right for me? And I'm taking a step back so I can actually lean into my business because that is what feels right to me. And so that is what being in compass and in alignment really means. And you have to be able to listen to your compass. If you don't, you're going to get tired. You're going to stay afraid. And you're always going to be looking for that external validation. So Debbie says that strategy is the one I did, and it's not easy for a creative person to do. It gets tedious, absolutely. And you know what, Debbie, it works for a while, and there is balance. So you have to bring it back into what works for you, what doesn't, and how do you bring it forward. So for me, the thing that I looked at it was, one, I was burned out. I couldn't do it anymore. And then I asked myself, what are really successful people doing? Are they posting on Facebook 5 times a day? Absolutely not. You know, they're selling things, they're proposing solutions, they're doing it differently. And I started to expand my horizons and go, what might fit really well for me? And so that is how to listen to your internal compass. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through the BLAB. And thank you so much for the comment, Debbie. That was really nice. It's not easy for anyone. I think it's a recipe for burnout, personally, for everyone. Unless you're really like, okay, you're completely fresh and you have nothing else to do. All right, so what are 4 signs? And yesterday I only had 3, so today I added one just for you. What are 4 signs that you're not listening to your internal compass? And the first one is that you look to others for permission for everything. So, and to know what's right. So the reason I hired my coach last year was because I needed permission to go forward with what I already knew. I already knew I needed to get more visible. I already knew that I needed to put out offers. That's the very thing I could do with the knowing what to do to move forward. We're going to actually do an exercise to help you with that in a little bit, Debbie. So when I talk about giving yourself permission, I hired a coach because I couldn't give myself permission. And really, when we're doing that, we're not listening to our internal compass. And it may be fine some of the time to hire a coach to say, hey, Natalie, you can do this. But ultimately, if you're going to have a successful business, you're going to have to be able to listen to your intuition and say, hey, what is right for me? What fits and what doesn't? And the other thing, when you keep asking other people, it's great when they're telling you what you already know, but what happens when they're telling you not to do what you already know is right for you? And I've had that happen to me, especially with my family. They think I should go back to work, right? Some of them, not all the time, but they're continuously telling me, are you going back to work? Are you going back to work? And so it is a question of when it doesn't come back, what happens with that permission? It's not there. So you have to be able to give yourself permission to do the things that you want to do in your business and what feels right to you. And that may not be, dropping your job right away. It may not be selling $5,000 packages. It might just be that you're inspired to do something and you're going to do it no matter what happens, and you're going to trust the universe. But you have to give yourself permission to be able to do that. And nobody else is ever going to do that for you. Even if you're hiring a coach to give you permission, at the end of the day, you just had some weird logic in there to say, hey, I'm going to get permission, but I'm going to get it from that person. I'm going to hire them to give me that permission. It's kind of like a twisted way of doing it. It comes back to trusting what your intuition is pulling you to do Absolutely. And giving ourselves permission to do that. Thank you, Debbie, for that comment. That was really nice. I really like that. I love what you're saying. All right. So, what is the second sign that you're not listening to your inner compass? Your business doesn't feel good, or a part of it, and it could be that your offers don't feel good, your clients don't feel good, your webinars don't feel good. Those are generally a really good sign that something is off, and your intuition is saying, "Wait." Now, there's a danger here. I didn't know if I wanted to talk about that because I didn't want you to think that it's all about feeling good. Business is going to feel all sorts of stuff. You're going to have emotions all over the place. What you can do, however, is say, hey, internal compass, hey, heart, what can I do to become good with whatever it is I'm trying to create? And you know what? It's going to be very interesting because you're going to get different answers. It might be that you need to drop your offer. It might be that you need to work through your fears and hire a manifesting coach. Hint me. No, I'm kidding, but kind of. But you could also say, hey, I can work on another offer. Your internal compass will show you the way if you ask it. A great place for this in our business is, especially with pricing, we all have all sorts of packages, and it's really difficult to know what is the right price and what isn't. And everybody has an opinion, like it should be $5 or it should be $500. Okay, well, that's a little extreme. Or $1,000. What is the right price? And it has to feel good to you. So recently I went up to $500 for a session because everybody was telling me I should have $500 sessions. Well, guess what? They don't feel good to me, and I stopped selling them. And that is what happens when you're not listening to your internal compass. Now, my internal compass doesn't say stop selling them at 500. It says clear your fears, clear your blocks, and start feeling worthy of receiving. Because that is what I need to do to be comfortable with that. For you, it might say, hey, don't do that. Do $300 because that feels really good to you. And I'm talking about the 500, but there's a part of me right now that wants to say to you, you know what? I don't think I'm ever going to sell a session at 500, particularly because I think it's crazy. And I don't think there's a lot of value in a session for an hour for 500 bucks. And so it has to be a clear process, and that is an evolution. But if you listen to your intuition, if you ask for guidance and you're able to listen to it and take action from there, you're going to sell, you're going to inspire, you're going to change the world. And Debbie says, same for me. I was told to up my fees, but my sales dropped off. My intuition is to drop my fees and serve more people. That is absolutely wonderful. If I was working with you as a client, and I do this for my clients, I would have you check for fears. I would have you check where you're uncomfortable before you make that decision. Because if you can clear what's uncomfortable and clear the emotions, you can really hear your internal compass. And if your internal compass is saying drop your fees, you have to ask yourself, are the fees worthy of you, or like are they, because you don't want to undercharge either. But if you can clear your fears, maybe using EFT tapping around it and your uncomfortableness, then you'll be able to make the right decision. And that is what I do with my clients. It's what I do with everyone. Clear your emotions so that you can make your right emotions. Sometimes unconscious beliefs are saying to you, I must never charge X for a session for an hour, or I am not worthy of it. If we can change those beliefs, it can give you clarity of what it is that you do really want. And your compass already knows. But sometimes your beliefs and your story around it is going to be really hard, and it's going to stop you from making that decision for yourself as you move forward. Make sense, everyone? So give me some hands if you like it. I think it's like the I don't know, there's a little on my screen, oh, there you go. Debbie's got it. I see little pictures. I absolutely love that. It's cool. Awesome. So what is a third sign that you're not listening to your internal compass? The third sign that you're not listening to your internal compass is that you're doing things to please other people, even though it sucks for you. and you know that it doesn't feel good to you. And I added this one today because yesterday I was doing this webinar and I had so many technical issues. I was a little bit frazzled, and I don't know if I was channeling, but I was really like, oh my God, this is weird. And as I was doing it, somebody decided to unlock the seat and to kind of go in, and I approved it. Even though I said, you know what, I'd rather wait till the Q&A, I dropped off what was really important to me. And I allowed that to happen, even though my intuition said, this is weird, it's a guy, what does he want? It's a troll. Well, it turned out to be a troll, and he talked about things that were inappropriate during my webinar. So I get to do this again today. Woohoo! So if you're doing things for other people to please them and it's pissing you off, then you have to either release your obligation to them and choose if you really want to. Because if you can choose, if you can say, hey, what is my compass saying to me today, and follow it, regardless of what other people are going to think, then you're going to honor yourself. Where is it in society that we said, hey, we have to honor everybody else before we honor ourselves? Like, it's weird, it's screwed up. And, you know, sometimes it's about releasing the beliefs around that. So a few months ago, I had, about a year ago, actually, not a few months, my mother moved, and I was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was going to go help her move, and I was in the shower, and man, was I pissed off. I felt like, okay, this is going to suck. And so I asked the universe, I said, how can I have a better day? And I heard, Natalie, clear your obligation. And I started to laugh, because my choice was to feel obligated, and I released that. And all of a sudden, my choice was to go help my mother. I actually wanted it, so that my alignment and my compass started to become together, and I started to feel really good. And your compass will tell you what you need to do to start feeling good about what you want in your business and in your life. And so you can ask for information, and we're going to figure out how to do that in just a minute. All right, so what is number 4? I like that, because usually when I do 3, it comes up like that too. So 4 is really cool. All right, so what is number 4? 4 is when you're asking for guidance and you're not listening to it. Maybe you're going to psychics, maybe you're going to do a meditation, or maybe you ask for before you go to bed and you get clarity during the night, and you get the information that comes back to you, and it's not exactly what you want, so you ignore it. So for the last few months in my business, I've been asking for clarity as to what I could actually do to grow my business and what would feel better to me, because a part of my business really didn't feel good. And I was getting the intuition that I shouldn't focus on my $5,000 package, and everybody was telling me I should focus on that. So how the heck was I supposed to do that? And really, I kind of like working with my 90-day clients. So like, what's the deal? And I also saw that I should focus on creating a new offer. And I was like, do I really want to do this offer? Man, and I didn't want to hear what the information was. And for months, I've been getting the same information over and over and over again. But I've been ignoring it because I didn't want to hear it. And I really was kind of pissed off because it wasn't what I wanted, you know? And so earlier this week, I had enough and I surrendered, and I said, all right, I'm going to have a healing session around it. And I called a friend of mine. And so we had a healing session. And what I discovered was that my guidance wasn't telling me to drop everything. It was telling me to refocus on inspiration and be an inspiration to you. And I thought, oh, that's really nice. And yeah, it's telling me the next step is to do this. And it's interesting because I hadn't wanted to take that next step. But every time that I have taken that step and listened to my guidance, and really basically it happens to me when I'm like, okay, I can't deal with this anymore. Show me the way and I'll do it, right? I take the step and I stop resisting and I just do it. Magical things happen. If any of you know about this offer, I did that last August. I was really desperate. It was August 21st, and I said, all right, I'm giving up. Tell me what I have to do to make some money in my business. And I was really quite stressed about it. I said, all right, what do I do? And I was shown the vibrational tune-up. And I had had that inspiration before, and I was like, oh, no. And that day I said, all right, what the heck, right? This is what I'm being shown to do. I'm going to do it. And by the end of that day, I had made $600, which was $100 more than I had demanded from the universe. And I went on to sell 50 of these. And it grew my business unproportionally for the next 3 months. Everything went really well. And that's what happens when you ask for guidance. You get it, you receive it. And if you're allowing yourself to receive it and to act on it, you're going to be able to get yourself moving forward. And often we say we don't hear it. And so I'm going to give you a trick on that. What do you hear? What do you notice about your guidance? What if you knew? And the reason I say that is because a lot of people will say, oh, I don't see anything in meditation, or I don't know what it's meaning. And, you know what? You're always getting signs. If you think it's a sign, it's a sign. And the question you have to ask yourself is, what does it mean to you? And if you can really answer yourself that question for yourself, you're going to move yourself in tons of direction. You're going to do really well. All right, so that was the fourth sign. So you just learned the 4 signs that you may not be listening to your inner compass. Maybe you're looking for other people to give you permission. Maybe you're looking for you're doing things for other people even though when it really doesn't feel good for you. And perhaps, right, a part of your business doesn't feel good. That's a great sign. And of course, you might be receiving information and you're just not listening to it, and you're saying, hey, no, don't act on it. And those are the 4 signs. So how do you start listening to it? How do you start to move yourself forward into that place where you can really listen to your intuition and hear it? Because if you can hear it, you can start to take action on it. And that is a practice. So if you're going to imagine yourself, you could use guided visualizations, you can do all of that, but today I wanted to go a little bit outside of that norm and give you something else, because it's not always about meditation, it's not always about being guided through the process, and sometimes you just want something really quick. And so what you can do is you could take out a sheet of paper and you're going to decide on what it is that you want to ask questions about. Maybe it's you want clarity on what your package should be, or what, do you need to make more money in your business? Get clear on what it is that you want to know more of and what you need guidance on in your business in this moment, right? Then you're going to say, all right, formulate a question for the universe. And the reason I say that is because it's easy to get lost when you're talking. So what you can do is you can say, all right, I want to know how to make more money. So instead of how, you're going to ask, what might need to happen to make more money and be of service into my business? How can I help more people? What might need to happen to achieve my goals? And even me, I have a hard time saying, like, not using how. So use an open-ended question, because if you can use an open-ended question, the universe is going to give you more information coming back, and it's going to make it easier to have a conversation. It's like if you were asking, should it be black or white? Well, the universe is going to tell you black or white. So instead of that, you're going to go, all right, what might need to happen to create the feeling that you want in your offer, or to create the feeling that you want in your Facebook post, whatever it is that you're trying to do, and use an open-ended question. All right, and then what you're going to do is you're going to just take out a sheet of paper like this one, right? And you're actually going to want to have a pen and paper handy when you do this exercise. So what you're going to do is you're going to write with your dominant hand. For most people, that's our right hand. If you're left-handed, you're going to do it with the other hand. And you're going to write out your question, okay? And you're going to take a few breaths before you do this so that you can really connect in and out. Just connect with your heart, right? And then write out a few questions with your right hand. And it's going to go something like that. So compass or heart. What is it that I need to what needs to happen in order for me to manifest more money in my business? What needs to happen next, right? And then you're going to answer the question with your non-dominant hand. For most of you, that's your left hand. So you're going to answer, you're going to write out the answer, and you're going to see that the answer is going to come very naturally. Some people, when they write out, like me, I can't see what I'm going to write. So I actually hear the answer and I write it out with my right hand. I'm cheating, but you don't have to cheat. You don't cheat. So you want to go with the left hand, and you really want to allow that to come in. So you're going to get an answer back which says, well, you need to stop focusing on selling your $5,000 packages and focus on inspiration. Okay, so now what do? I could sit with that, or I can ask another question with my right hand and my dominant hand. I could say, what would that look like in my business? What do you suggest? And it's the left hand will answer that. And it might say, you need to do a monthly circle, which is the answer I've been getting. And then you're like, okay, I got that. And then you go back and you ask, what might be the best way to do that? And when do I put it out there? And you're going to get more information the more you ask. So often what happens when we do this type of exercise is we'll ask a question, but we'll forget to ask the second one or the third one. It's the same when we do go into a meditative state and we ask the universe for guidance. we're not necessarily going to hear it or feel it or get an image, but we sometimes get something and we forget to ask the next question. You get to have the conversation with your spirit, with your soul, with your heart. And your inner compass is all of that. It knows the path of least resistance. If you just ask the questions, it will show you. Now, the next piece to that is once you have it, you got to trust it. And if you can trust it, you can really take it to the next level. You always have a choice. Do you want to follow it or not? That is always up to you. We have the law of free will. So we can choose what we act on. My experience is that what I get, if it's clear and it feels good to me, I'm going to follow it. And I'm actually going to be practicing that in the month of March every single day. And my newsletter that's coming up, I'm going to be inviting you to join me on that because it is a practice. And it is a practice to trust and to see. And it doesn't always have to be huge things. It can just be, hey, today I need to follow up with an old client or an old clarity call. It could just be that today I need to go sit in the coffee shop and have a conversation with the person next to me. Our intuition, our compass is always there. And if we learn how to listen to it, we're going to be able to grow our businesses exponentially. And it's going to be way more fun. All right. So with that said, I'm going to unlock the seat and we're going to go to the Q&A. I am going to pause the recording. So go ahead.